Well, hello, Yellow Army, and welcome back to another interview here on official TUFC TV. And as you can see, once again, I'm joined by the man himself, United manager Gary Johnson. How you doing, Gary?
Fine, thank you. Fine, just taking a well-earned rest after our long trip and a great result in our last game. So I'm ready for you.
Well, the question is, Gary, is have you dried off yet after Chesterfield? But it wasn't exactly English Riviera weather up there, was it?
It was unbelievable. I mean, the wind and the rain together was, you probably might not have noticed it so much on the streaming, but when you was there, and I've listened to other managers' interviews, and the same was all over the country. Every game was like a game of two halves. You know, the wind was that strong that it was definitely in your favour when you used it. And then it was definitely against you when it was in your face. So, you know, it was any team that won on that day had good tactics with the wind in mind.
So typical bank holiday weather then?
Yeah, certainly seems to be.
Well, it was quite some weekend for Torquay United, and obviously, of course, for the Yellow Army watching on at home. Two excellent performances, two mammoth results. If we can just go back to the Eastleigh game, first of all, Gary, I mean, what a performance against a team that just a week earlier had uprooted Sutton. But it was a convincing display. It was Torquay at their attacking best. What did you make of it?
Exactly what you said. You just described it well yourself there. You know, we knew how important the game was. It was important to try and, you know, get a goal early. You know, in this league, it's always important to get that early goal, as we've seen when teams score against us. And, you know, to win the game quite comfortably in the end against a very good team that had beaten Sutton beaten Notts County. So, yeah, it was a very important game for us and took us into the Chesterfield game full of confidence.
And two things that I thought was outstanding was the fact that having been on top so much in the first half, and it does happen sometimes, is that went in at half time, almost disappointed to just be one goal up. And yet your team responded so well straight after half time. Asa gets a goal, it's only 2-0, but not content with that, then get pegged back to 2-1, so it's just the goal advantage. And yet again, your team responded through Jake Andrews.
Well, that's the vital thing, really. You've got to have a team that can show intent to score and to show that intent not to let a goal in at times like those. You know, you've got every game we go into, we try and win. You know, there hasn't been a game where we've gone anywhere to try and draw or happy with a draw. So it's probably why we get a few late goals, because we want to win the games, and who dares wins, as it were. And as some famous bloke once said, it wasn't me, but anyway, and that's what happened. And you know, we work on set plays a lot, and when it comes to fruition, if you like, as far as the two set plays, and you win a game through your set plays, then it's a fantastic feeling. You know, Ace's one was a set play we've been working on, and obviously Jake is very comfortable. We've got 3 or 4 things we like to use on the edge of the box as a free kick, and then Jake decides that he's just going to hit it himself. But and that's one of them, to be fair. And he's got quality in that booming left foot of his.
Now, before the game, we were talking, and we often do. It's almost as if sometimes, Gaffer, that I feel like I'm almost taunting. I'm saying to you, we haven't beaten this team for the last 9 games and all that. And then, of course, you go up to Chesterfield, who we've been trying to beat them for half a century before we turned up, Gary. So go up to Chesterfield, and again, we come up with another 3 points just when it was needed. But a very different performance, that one, wasn't it? Because there was a lot of defending to do, but soaked up the pressure manfully and responded with 2 excellent goals again.
Well, it was always going to be slightly different because of the scenario of being away from home and being at home. You know, everybody puts under pressure to, of course, and we put ourselves under pressure to win the 3 home games, which were going to be really important coming up to Chesterfield, the Chesterfield game. Now, obviously, they were one of the favourites. You know, they spent quite a few bob in their players recently, brought some players in. So we knew that we had to start well, which to be fair, we did as well. You know, we managed to win the toss, which was important. We went with the win. We got our goal, and the first goal, and then we knew that we might have to defend a little bit because they were desperate to stay in the playoffs, absolutely desperate to stay in the playoffs, of course. And they would have to throw numbers at us, and they did. But we stood firm, and not only that, we got ourselves another goal just at the right time. Not quite Gary time, as you say, but certainly we got it at the right time, which was in the 75th, 76th minute or something. And then our boys have been doing great over the last part of the season, certainly in the last 10 games or so, where we see winning results out very well.
Now, one of the, you talked to us previously, you've got this motivation that you give to the team, don't you, about when they're defending the goal. Can you talk us through that a little bit, Gary?
Yeah, I can. Sorry. Yes, I can. Well, we obviously every manager has his own little sayings that people remember, and one of mine is that we try and mother the goal. We say that, and what it means is we got to make sure that if your mum was inside the net, you're going to do everything you can to stop that ball hitting her, and that is how we've been defending. Now, thank God, most of my players look like they love their mums, because if it was the other way around, we might be letting in a few more goals. But no, the lads, you know, it's easy to remember, and we've got some warriors in our defending. And you know, we worked it out the other day that, in fact, we worked it out on Saturday, where we scored 22 free goals, i.e. our set plays, and we've only let in 12. So that's not a bad, because normally with set plays you've got to defend well. It's either a free kick or a corner. So we're ahead on all that, and I'm really pleased. And that's obviously thanks to all the lads' mums. So we'd like to thank them for picking up a few results for us.
Yeah, special shout out to all of you there. I'm sure you're all tuning in. Now, you just touched on, Gary, both those. We haven't really had much Gary time in the last two games. It's both around about the 75th minute mark, you know, so it's been pretty premature compared to recent. But can you just talk to us about this Gary time? Where does that come from? Where does it come from? And not so much the expression, but it's the ability to get these results. I mean, you talked in pre-season about making sure that your team was the fittest one out there, but surely you can even envisage that the amount of times that they've turned 1 point into 3 or no points into 1 late on. I mean, it's outstanding, isn't it?
Well, it is outstanding. I mean, we'd rather be, 3-0 up with 20 minutes to go or 10 minutes to go. But if you're not, and you've got a group like we've got that are determined to do their best, determined to get results, determined to win the league, then you get that, to use the word again, that intent to score a goal. And that we work on that in training. There's certain training exercises, training things that you can do. The simplest one is, when you have a 5-a-side or something, and you say, lads, if you don't score a goal in the next 5 minutes, it's a 12-minute run, and that can be very, very powerful as a motivation to score a goal. And then you get the intent, and that's what's something that we do. There's lots of other things that we do, but if you want to do that regularly, you have to get yourself, recruit yourself, the type of players that have got that personality and character and desire.
Well, it's nice that you gave the Yellow Army a bit of breathing space, time to get their breath back over the last 2 games. You weren't at Meadow Lane on Tuesday, were you? Well,
I felt like I was. They wouldn't have allowed me in, I don't think, with the COVID stuff. But I watched it on the TV with my wife. And, of course, without disrespecting Sutton, we were Notts County supporters on the day. And we got magpies nesting somewhere in our guttering up there somewhere, and they came out and wished us luck. And And obviously it was an unbelievable game. And of course, it was a result. It was a good result for us as the league table stands. But they're still very dangerous, Sutton. You know, they've got still 12 points to play for. If in fact they've got 15 points to play for. But it was nice just to have that little bit of a gap between us, due to obviously the Notts County win, and also due to our form over the last 10 games. I think we've or 12. Is it 12 games? I think we've won 10 and drawn 1 and lost 1 or something. You know, there's 31 points we've picked up in 12 games, which is a phenomenal amount. Unfortunately, some of the other teams are doing that as well. Stockport had a great run, Hartlepool had a great run, Sutton had a great run, and it's keeping your nerve. It's keeping your nerve, and you know, we've been saying for about 10 games, it's 10 cup finals. Well, now we've got 4 cup finals left, and it is in our hands. So you know, all the motivational tricks that I might have picked up over the years need to come out. But the best thing is I'm very proud of our group at the moment, because a lot of those players, I mean, we've had lots of injuries during the season, as everybody else has as well. But it's keeping the lads that are not playing, that where they recover from injury and don't play. And then you're saying, be ready, be ready. And everyone that I've brought in, Gary Warren, Dean Moxey, you know, there's players that have come in from pretty long injuries. Even Asa Hall was injured for a little while, Jake Andrews. Billy Walters had to wait a little while before he came back in. But they were all ready, every one of them. And that's why we tend to take them all to the away games. It's a little bit of an extra cost, but it certainly keeps them involved. And I think we've reaped the rewards by doing that.
Absolutely, Gaffer. It's great that you've brought that up, because obviously there has been a lot of people sort of asking, "Oh, when's this player back? When's this player back?" And you know, that's only right. And apart from anything else, supporters will always have their favourite players that they bond with. But when you look at some of the players that have come in, the likes of Gary Warren that's come in, and Billy Waters is probably the first one that springs to mind, who has been particularly effective with these goals against Eastleigh and Chesterfield. I mean, those finishes were something else, weren't they?
Unbelievable. I mean, he's you know, when Billy starts well and he's confident, he gets a goal. You know, he looks above this level, and you know, he's a great lad as well. I mean, you know, the lads love him, and he's a great character around the place, and everybody's always pleased for him. A, when he plays, and B, especially when he scores, because he does love scoring. And you know, with Bill, if he's on a good run, then you let him keep going. You know, just keep going, Bill. You know what I mean? And he did have to wait a long time. He was getting a little bit frustrated that he hadn't been playing, but because we were winning, nobody was getting too upset. And then he got his opportunity, and you know, obviously he's got in, and he's done very well recently.
Like you touched upon earlier on, Gary, it's now obviously some of these players have obviously been through it with you before, like Asa, like Billy, Danny Wright, when you took Cheltenham up. Also did it, of course, with Yeovil as well. And all of your experience now, all of it is going to come into, it's going to be vitally important over the next couple of weeks. And it's important that the group stays together, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, you know, it's... obviously the experience helps, because I've been in these situations before. That doesn't mean to say you know, you have a route all the way through to the Football League, but it means that the boys can trust you. That's probably why boys that I've had previously join me again. And at the moment, it's almost that the motivation is their confidence at the moment, and you don't have to say too much when the boys are playing with the type of confidence they're playing with, and that's experience in itself, because sometimes you don't say too much and you let them you know, take the onus. You let them take the responsibility of what they're doing, and that's good. And of course, me, Downsy, and the staff, sometimes we just have to say, lads, well played, well done, proud of you, keep going. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes that's motivation enough. But you know, they say, don't they? And another saying I use quite often is that if you want to motivate players, get players that can be motivated. You know, we've talked about that before, and that is so true in your recruitment. And I'm pleased to say, at this moment in time, it's you know, coming to fruition.
Obviously, there's 4 games to play. Nothing's been won yet. You must be, of course. Well, we are all delighted. If you only go back to the end of March, there was a bit of ground to be made up, but you remained confident with the squad, and you said that, you know, it's important that everybody kept believing. Is the main focus now just to, it's an old expression, to take one match at a time? Because obviously I know a lot of people are looking ahead to Stockport, because there's 4 teams are obviously still in this title race, and there's Stockport, Hartlepool, Sutton, and of course ourselves. But, you know, we've got a very tough match on Saturday, first of all, in Bromley, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And Stockport after that, and Barnet after that, and Altrincham after that. However, we never lump 2 games, let alone 4 games, into our minds. We totally focus on our own tactic against the team that we're coming up next, i.e. Bromley. We'll concentrate on their tactics, how we think they might play, who might play, whether they've got any knocks and injuries or whatever, and how we can exploit their weaknesses as they're going to be doing to us. And then only after that game do we then move on to the next game. And because we've had so many games, sometimes they all sort of like, in my head, I have to actually, once we've got the result and I've done the interviews, that's it. I can't go back, you know, and think about them. We keep looking forward. And by the time Saturday nights come, like after the game we just played at Chesterfield, me and Downsy and Louis Burtonshaw does a lot of our looking at videos and out of opposition. We've forgotten about that last one, and we're into the next one. So straight after Chesterfield, even on the bus, we was looking at Bromley, and that's how I do it. That's how we do it, and it's gone okay for us.
So obviously the BT Sport cameras roll into town again on Saturday. So obviously they've seen this as quite a tasty fixture. Bromley, who recently obviously ended Hartlepool's unbeaten run. So it's nothing taken for granted. And what are you expecting from the game? Obviously it was a tight win, another goal in Gary time actually up at their place in I think it's the 3rd game of the season, when Danny Wright got the late penalty. So more of the same, I expect you're expecting, Gaffer.
Yeah, they're on a good little run. I think I say a good run overall. I think they won their last game, of course, but they lost the game before that. But any team that sort of recovers from a defeat and then goes on and beats Hartlepool is obviously in a little bit of form, and they'll have their own little bit of confidence themselves. And the new manager syndrome, he's come in, he's done very well. And what they do and what they've got is that they've got an energy and a work rate, and the manager has got them very, how can I say, he's got them very active in their play. So they're working hard for each other, they're working hard, and it'll be a tough game. It'll be a tough game because they are putting a lot of effort into their games, because they're the last team in the playoffs, and they'll want to stay there, obviously. And you know, Andy Woodman's a very experienced player. He's you know, and he's come into management and he's started off very well. But I think his passion has probably rubbed off on his team, and you know, they're going to be dangerous either not only in this game, but if they stay in the playoffs situation.
It must be quite a culture shock, Gaffer, having suddenly midweeks off and suddenly just playing on a Saturday. It must be like old school football, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's nice to have that time off, because it really does give you the opportunity for players that have niggles that don't recover in 3 or 4 days, but can recover in 7 days. So that's nice to have that scenario, that situation where boys, you know, bruises don't recover in 3 days. Kicks, you know, when you've got a kick or you've got something, you know, we had a little bit of a head injury, not a concussion, but a head injury that's not a 3-day one, it's a 5-day one, if you know what I mean. So all those where we might have to, when you're playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, you might have to leave a couple out because they're not quite ready, but they might have needed a couple more days. So it's nice to be able to prepare for longer as well for the next game. And we haven't had that benefit for a long, long time now. And so, you know, I'm looking forward to working with the lads from Saturday to Saturday to Saturday, and especially on the running, because it's been a tough whole season for everybody. And we need to just get over this last little period and see where we end up.
That's very, very exciting, Gaffer, and I know that the Yellow Army will be right behind you again this coming Saturday and for all the last 4 fixtures. Before we go, Gaffer, we have had a few interactions from the Yellow Army again, and thank you, Yellow Army, for sending these in. First of all, Gaffer, we've got, I wonder if you could congratulate a big United fan called Adam Cheeseworth. He runs the Watcombe Wanderers under-10s, and they've reached a cup final, which will be taking place on May the 23rd. Just wondered if you could wish Adam and the Watcombe under-10s all the very best of luck in their cup final. Well,
Adam and the Watcombe under-10s, good luck to you, because you've obviously done well enough to get to the final. And now all you got to do is concentrate, and it's no use getting into a final if you don't win it. So make sure you're showing intent to score a goal, and make sure your mothers know that you're going to be mothering the goal for.
Fantastic, Gaffer, and best of luck, Adam, and all the lads from everybody at Torquay United. Well, that wraps things up for another week, Yellow Army. So thank you again for your fantastic support, all of you, not just those ones that we've mentioned, and stay with us for the next 4 games, massive games. Have you got a message for them, Gaffer?
Well, really looking forward to seeing them. I hope, you know, the government still keep May the 17th, where, you know, crowds can, I'm sure they will, where crowds can come to games. You have to see what figures they put on it, you know, what restrictions, but it'll be so nice to have the fans just once, you know, all together with us. They've been showing their appreciation. I think we've been trying to show ours through the Zoom, and not the Zoom, through the streaming and that. And I hope, I'm telling you that we're as proud of them as I think they are of us at this moment in time. So keep your goodwill messages coming in, keep tweeting them, keep putting them on the website or whatever it is, because it's helping. If the lads know there's people out there giving them that, as I've said before, the positive support, and we're seeing a lot of that now, which is fantastic, and that definitely helps the boys.
They are Yellow Army. You heard it from the man himself. So thanks for joining us, Yellow Army. Thank you, Gaffer, for joining us again.
No problem,
we'll speak to you again soon, and in the meantime, take care and keep safe.